You know, when you watch movies, knife fighting often looks like this crazy, wild chaos.
Yeah, completely uncontrolled sometimes.
But what if it's actually less about just raw power and more about like really precise movements, exploiting tiny moments?
That's a great point. Even a small knife used right can be incredibly dangerous.
And that brings us right into our deep dive today, doesn't it?
It does. We're digging into the principles of knife fighting stance and footwork.
Oh,
We're pulling insights from Martina Sprague's book, Knife Fighting Stance, Footwork, and Dynamics of Motion.
right. And this isn't just like theory for the sake of theory, is it?
No, not at all. Sprague's work is grounded in martial arts. It's meant to help practitioners really understand the knife.
As a weapon, sure, but also as a defensive tool.
Exactly, and how that understanding can actually make their empty hand skills better. She has a serious martial arts background herself, so it's practical stuff.
Got it. So, our mission here today is what exactly?
We want to really distill the core ideas of stance and footwork from the book,
Mm.
so listeners can grasp how these basic things are, well, crucial for controlling distance, that space between you and a threat.
Super important.
Yeah, for staying safe, but also for creating those little openings in a fight. Doesn't matter if you're armed or not, really.
So, these ideas about movement, about positioning, they could actually apply elsewhere too.
I think so. They offer some useful insights, definitely.
Okay, let's unpack it then. Starting with the fighting stance itself. Now, first big question. Which foot forward?
Ah,
Sprague talks about that classic dilemma, right? Strong side forward for speed and reach, or strong side back for more power.
she does. And generally, for knife fighting, she leans towards strong side forward.
Okay, why is that? Why favor speed over power here?
Well, the key thing Sprague points out is that a knife is essentially a touch weapon.
A touch weapon, meaning,
Meaning, unlike, say, a club where you need a lot of force, a knife can do serious damage with relatively little power behind it.
oh, okay, makes
Yeah.
sense.
So the advantage shifts. It becomes more about speed, how fast can you deploy it, and maximizing your reach.
And having your dominant hand, the knife hand, forward does both.
Pretty much, yeah. It's an immediate threat, and you can make contact faster.
Right, that feels intuitive. But it's more than just putting one foot forward, isn't it? What makes a good knife fighting stance?
Oh, absolutely. Sprague breaks down several key things that make up what you might call dynamic readiness.
Dynamic readiness. I like that. Okay, what are they?
First, the stance needs a solid base, so you can react to threats from, well, anywhere, without getting awkward or off balance.
Okay, stable but adaptable.
And part of that is protecting your vital spots, the neck, obviously, and your center line.
That middle line down your torso, the most vulnerable part.
Exactly that. Second, it has to feel natural, something you can hold. Think athletic.
Not strained or rigid.
Right. Feet maybe shoulder width to shoulder and a half apart, weight even, knees slightly bent. You need that spring for movement.
Agile, balanced, not planted like a tree. What about the feet themselves? You see boxers angle their lead foot, right?
Good point, and Sprague specifically contrasts that. For knife fighting, she generally recommends pointing the lead foot more straight ahead, almost like a fencer.
Straight ahead. Why's that?
It helps with that quick linear footwork, getting in and out fast for those direct attacks. Angling the foot can slow that down just a bit.
Interesting. Straight for speed. Now, the knife itself, where do you hold it? Is there an ideal spot?
She suggests a ready position, comfortable, in front of your chest.
Not too high, not too low.
Right. Not so high it tenses your shoulder, not so low it can't protect you, and maybe about a foot away from your body.
A foot away, why not closer?
Well, too close,
Hmm.
and your opponent might be able to trap your weapon hand. Pin it
Ah, okay.
too far, and you lose some speed, some
Yeah.
immediate threat. And keep that elbow down a bit, helps guard the center line.
Got it. Foot out front, elbow down. What about weight? Where should that be?
Mostly on the ball of your rear foot.
Rear foot,
Yeah.
not leaning forward.
No, you want that rear leg ready to push. It's the engine for moving forward quickly. You're not pulling with the front foot.
Okay, push from the back and posture.
Stay upright. Slouching, leaning too much, it kills your balance, your speed, your agility.
Makes sense.
And don't forget the other hand. Your free hand is active. It's a guard, especially for your neck and face.
So the whole picture is poised for action, right?
Right.
Not locked into one spot.
Exactly. Sprague really hammers this home. Dynamic movement, smooth transitions, it's way more important than holding one perfect static pose.
You have to be able to move.
Right. She even suggests partner drills with training knives to really feel it out. You learn fast what works and what doesn't against someone moving.
I bet. And I bet there are common mistakes people make at first. Does she mention any bad stances?
Oh, yeah. Like being too square facing the opponent head on leaves that whole center line wide open.
Vulnerable.
Very. Or stances that are way too low or too wide. They feel stable, maybe, but they just cripple your movement, your speed.
So you need that balance. Stability and mobility.
That's the sweet spot.
Okay, so given all that about a good stance, how does it affect which hand holds the knife? We said lead hand forward as usual.
Right, that's the general recommendation.
But are there times you might use the rear hand? Any advantages there?
That's a really good question. Sprague does touch on it, although it's usually not the first choice.
Okay.
One possible upside is maybe surprise, concealment, especially right at the start. Holding it back makes your intent less obvious.
A little bit hidden.
Yeah. And your lead hand, the empty one, is totally free then. Maybe you can set something up, distract, parry an initial move. It becomes more of a setup tool.
So the empty hand leads the dance, in a way.
Sort of. But there's a big downside.
Which is?
Reach. Your main weapon is suddenly much further away.
Right, that's a problem.
And that empty lead hand, it becomes a target itself. Someone could grab it, trap it, mess up your position.
And it might get in the way of your own knife hand if you need it fast from the back.
Exactly. It can get awkward, especially under pressure.
So it sounds like being able to adapt is key.
Totally. Sprague stresses adaptability. You might start one way, but a fight is unpredictable. You might need to switch hands or stances.
Maybe for better reach or a different angle, or if you get bumped.
All of those. Maybe you make a cut, then need to switch to create space or defend differently.
Yeah.
Fluidity matters more than sticking rigidly to one thing.
Right. Now, what if someone comes from, say, karate or kung fu, empty hand stuff? How should they think about adding a knife, lead versus rear hand?
It's a critical point for martial artists. Sprague says they need to really think about how it fits.
How the knife hand, lead or rear, works with their existing moves.
Exactly. Does knife forward work well with their strikes? Does knife back let their blocks flow better? And they also have to think, okay, now I'm the target because I have a knife. How does their system defend against a knife attack?
Good point. And what if the other guy has a knife too? Does that change the lead versus rear calculation?
Oh, absolutely. Changes the whole dynamic. Your stance, your hand position. Now it's also about defending their weapon.
Right.
Sprague mentions maybe switching hands tactically, just to get a bit more reach for a moment, without overextending, like a quick switch from rear to lead for a surprise thrust.
Ah, clever.
But ultimately, once you're committed to the fight, once you've taken a stance, the general advice Sprague's included is usually knife in the lead hand.
For that immediate threat and reach we talked about.
Precisely. And she brings up a core principle here, the superiority of arms.
Meaning a weapon gives you an edge.
Pretty much. Any weapon, a knife included, extends your reach, makes you more effective. An armed person generally has a big advantage over someone unarmed.
Okay, stance and hand position covered. Let's talk about actually moving. What are the basics of footwork here?
Okay, footwork. According to Sprague, the main goal is simple. Get to a better position than your opponent and stay there.
Better position means safer. More chances to attack.
Both. Makes you harder to hit and lets you land cleaner shots. Plus, you can exploit those moments when they're shifting weight, off balance, vulnerable.
So you're always looking for that better angle. Now, what's the first instinct, usually? Facing danger.
To back up. Right. Create distance.
Yeah. Is that the right move in a knife fight?
Well, while the instinct is natural, Sprague actually advises against automatically retreating, especially when you're learning.
Really? Why?
She says you should practice moving forward from neutral, establishing that strong side-forward fighting stance. Take the initiative.
Psychologically strong too, maybe? Shows confidence.
Exactly. It can disrupt their plan. Plus, she warns about getting forced backwards.
What's wrong with retreating under pressure?
When you're backpedaling, you're worried about balance, about tripping over things. It's really hard to launch a good counterattack.
Your focus is split.
Right. We're just built to move forward more efficiently, faster. She suggests practicing this with a partner, safely, of course. You feel how tough it is to fight effectively while going backwards. The retreater is usually losing.
Makes sense. Hard to attack if you're just trying not to fall. So how do you move forward correctly with a knife?
When you advance, Sprague says push off that rear foot. That's your power source for a quick, controlled step forward.
Push off the back foot. Big step.
Not necessarily. The rear foot gives the initial burst, but keep the steps small, controlled. You don't want to suddenly widen your stance too much.
Because that hurts mobility, like you said before.
Exactly. Keep that mobile, balanced base.
Small, quick steps powered by the rear leg. Okay, what about when you do need to back up? Create space.
Yeah, sometimes you have to retreat. Maybe they rush you, or you need to dodge. In that case, Sprague says push off the lead foot first.
The lead foot pushes back.
Yeah, move the lead foot back towards the rear foot first, then step back with the rear foot.
Why that order?
Safety. If you just step way back with your rear foot first, your lead leg is just hanging out there, totally exposed. Easy target for a cut or sweep.
Ah, right. Minimize the target as you move back. Lead foot first, then rear. Okay, now that superior positioning you mentioned. How do you get there?
That's where the fancier footwork comes in. Once you have the basic forward back down, Sprague talks about stepping at a slight angle forward.
Angling in, towards their side.
Yeah, towards their flank, maybe even aiming towards their back. As you move off their center line, new targets often appear.
Like the kidneys, back of the leg.
Could be kidney, hamstring area. The key is you attack from that angle, and then this is crucial, you angle out. Move again, maybe 90 degrees off their original line.
So angle in, attack, angle out. Why angle out?
Gets you out of their immediate counterattack zone. But you need to judge the distance right when you angle out. Stay close enough to still be a threat, but far enough to be safer.
Okay, angle in, strike, angle out, maintain distance awareness. What about getting past their actual knife hand? That seems super risky.
It is. High risk. Sprague details a very specific sequence for it.
Okay, break it down.
Start safe distance, knife forward grip, lead hand. Quick step in, extend the knife. Quick slash at their knife hand. Then immediately pull back to safety.
Like a quick jab with the knife at their hand.
Sort of. See how they react? If they flinch, pull back, hesitate, then you might step in again. Repeat the slash to the hand, but this time, follow through with a lateral step forward.
Moving sideways as you go forward.
Yeah, angling towards their back again, not straight in. She calls it like a wedge movement. Makes you less predictable.
Okay, wedge forward.
Then, from that better angle, hit a primary target, neck, kidney, whatever, and then
Angle out again.
angle out to safety, always.
So probe the knife hand, create an opening, exploit it with angled footwork, attack, get out. Complex.
Needs practice. And she mentions targeting tendons behind the knee if you get that superior rear position.
Okay. Now, what about times when you really have to retreat? Maybe you're injured or facing more than one person.
Right. While advancing is preferred, Sprague admits retreat is sometimes necessary. If they also have a weapon, or if you get hurt and need to, say, switch hands with your knife.
You need time and space for that.
Exactly. Stepping back gives you that vital moment to adjust your grip, switch hands safely without fumbling.
So it's a tactical pause, not just running away.
Right. Don't retreat if you're dominating, but use it strategically to reset. And hey, if you can create enough distance, maybe you can just disengage completely.
A valid option. How should you hold the knife while retreating or switching?
Sprague says keep it on your center line, point towards the opponent.
Still a threat, still protecting yourself.
Yeah. And keep movement small, tight, no big, obvious arm swings they can easily read and counter. Quick, efficient.
Makes sense. And you mentioned using a rear step for a second attacker.
Yeah, if someone comes from behind while you're dealing with someone in front, a sharp step back while turning towards the new threat can create space from the first guy and let you face the second.
Buys you a second.
But, again, Sprague warns no technique is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You never know exactly what the other person has or can do.
Crucial reminder, always uncertainty. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Moving when defending against unarmed attacks. Kicks, punches, different ballgame.
It is. When you have the knife, your focus is usually the person in front or slightly to the side. If someone comes from behind, priority one is turn and face them.
Unless you're already grabbed, maybe. Like a bear hug.
Right, like a rear bear hug where they might not even know you have the knife yet. But generally, turn and face. Footwork is critical here.
And distance judgment must be even more vital against limbs, right? Longer reach than an arm sometimes.
Huge. Misjudge the distance, you swing and miss, and they hit you. Or you get hit trying to defend. Good footwork lets you close safely, keep the initiative, avoid overreaching.
So practice is key.
Definitely. Sprague suggests drills. Striking stationary, then adding steps forward, back, sideways before striking.
What if you are forced back by kicks and punches?
Try to counter while retreating, or maybe break their rhythm, move unexpectedly to draw them in, then meet their momentum with a quick strike.
Intercept them.
Yeah, and she notes, while straight punches might be faster than hooks, the actual power difference between people matters less when a knife is involved. Speed and placement become king.
The blade equalizes strength somewhat. What if they try to block with their arms? Instinctive reaction for someone unarmed.
Well, they risk you getting cut, obviously. Maybe not deadly cuts, but painful, debilitating ones that create more openings for you.
So blocking isn't a great strategy against a knife.
Not really.
Ah,
Against someone unarmed, you have the advantage, but stay sharp. They might try to disarm you. Keep movements tight, fast, no big windups. Seize initiative, get that better position.
stay in control. What about specific defenses against kicks?
Sprague says don't just dodge. If you can, close the distance, block the kick with your knife arm even.
Roll lock a kick with your knife arm.
Yeah, or sidestep it completely and immediately counter. Aim for vulnerable spots. Femoral veins, inside the thigh, very effective target.
Ouch.
She even describes catching a roundhouse kick in the crook of your arm while moving in, controlling their leg, messing up their balance,
What?
and then using your free hand to attack that femoral vein. Or if the kick comes towards your knife side, maybe you can't catch it like that, but you can still move in, take the impact on your forearm.
Neutralize the power.
Right, neutralize the power by moving forward and then immediately step in and attack a vital spot while they're still on one leg. Should end things fast.
Very direct counters. What about punches? They can come fast and furious.
True. If it's a big, obvious punch, maybe you can intercept it. Quick slice to the wrist or forearm. Use your free hand to parry their arm slightly to clear the way. Follow up immediately.
And if they're faster, harder to time.
Then protect yourself first. Chin down, arms up to guard your head. The moment a punch lands on your arms, use that contact. Step inside their reach, towards their center line.
Get close.
Get close and unleash quick slashes. Neck is a prime target. Push them back as you slash. Even if you can't see perfectly, a tight hooking motion with the knife, especially reverse grip, will do damage.
Close range devastation.
And she adds, unlike empty hand strikes, don't do big body pivots when slashing close. Slows you down, exposes you more. Keep it tight.
Got it. Okay, Sprague also details a lunging exercise. What's that for?
That's about working different ranges, long versus short.
How does range affect things?
Well, at longer range, maybe against another knife, a longer blade gives you an edge. You can try to cut their weapon hand while staying safer.
Makes sense.
But up close, really close, a shorter knife, maybe reverse grip, might be quicker, easier to maneuver.
So the lunge exercise helps bridge that distance?
It helps practice closing distance effectively. Sprague stresses using small, controlled steps, not giant lunges.
Why no big lunges? Seems like it covers ground faster.
Too easy to lose balance, cross your feet, become unstable. Small steps keep you in control.
Okay. And what if you do over lunge slightly?
She mentions recovering into a cat stance. Weight shifts back quickly, lets you dodge maybe, then spring forward again for another attack. It's about fluid movement, no hopping or obvious shifts.
Smooth transitions. What kind of attacks do you practice with these lunges?
Several variations. Simple forward lunge with a stab or slash. That wedge step and go forward with an inward or outward slash. Forward lunge, but with a downward slash, dropping your weight into it for power. Or a diagonal upward slash to the thigh from a lower stance.
Lots of angles.
And partner practice helps. One person advances retreats with guard up. The other practices lunging in when they see an opening.
Testing reactions.
And here's a little historical nugget she includes. Often advised to focus your eyes on the opponent's chest when thrusting, not their eyes.
Chest, not eyes. Why?
A bigger, more stable target.
Mm-hmm.
Helps maintain accuracy during the thrust.
Interesting detail. Okay, final big section. The physics. Stab versus slash. What are the core differences, pros and cons?
Right, the mechanics. Historically, the thrust or stab was often seen as, well, more decisive.
More deadly.
Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
A slash makes you bleed, sure. But a deep stab to a vital organ, higher chance of stopping the fight immediately. Puncture wounds can also be nastier internally, higher infection risk.
Okay, stab for lethal potential. Downsides.
It needs more precision, especially with a smaller knife. You have to hit the right spot. A slash covers more area.
Easier to land something even if it's not perfect.
Exactly. And while a forward grip stab gives good reach, getting deep penetration usually means getting closer than you might for a slash to, say, the neck. Also harder to stab accurately if you're moving a lot or off balance.
So, stab. High potential, needs precision, closer range. What about the slash?
Slashing needs less pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
Uses more natural sweeping body movements. But if you don't hit a major artery or vein, it might not stop them right away. Could just be cuts to arms or legs.
Still bad, but maybe not fight ending immediately.
Right. But incapacitation is still a goal. Blood loss, cut tendons that can end a fight too, and slashes can be incredibly fast, especially up close.
You mentioned integrating the draw with a slash.
Yeah, some systems do that seamlessly. Draw and cut in one motion.
Like historical swordsmanship. Does Sprague connect it to that?
She does draw a parallel, like right-handed swordsman carrying on the left hip for a cross draw.
What cross draw?
It brings the weapon across the body's center line, your axis of balance and power. Makes the draw and first cut more energy efficient.
Huh, clever.
The principle applies even with smaller knives. Stay balanced, be efficient during deployment and the first attack. Especially vital with longer blades, a miss can throw you way off balance.
And historically, bigger knives meant more reach.
Yeah, reach equaled safety often. Let you hit them while staying further away. Plus, more weight means more power in a slash, naturally.
So physics favored bigger blades back then. What about blade design? Curved versus straight?
Huge factor. Curved blades, think samurai sword, scimitar are built for slicing, drawing cuts.
Naturally follow an arc.
Right. Straight, tapered blades, bayonets, stilettos optimized for thrusting. All the force goes to the point.
Makes sense.
A curved blade, if you try to stab straight in, actually presents a wider profile. It has to push more stuff out of the way. Needs more force for deep penetration in a thrust.
Compared to a thin, pointy blade.
Exactly. Sprague talks about force per square inch. Why a single-edged knife with an upward curve at the tip can be nasty on a backhand / power focuses on that tip. Double-edged knives. Best for straight stabs.
What about chopping weapons? Kukris, machetes.
Power there comes from the force behind it, plus the design leverage, weight. Kukri is tip-heavy, balanced to chop hard with less effort.
Downside.
That forward weight can make you unstable if you miss. Big swing, big miss, big balance problem.
Got it. So blade shape matters a lot. Does overall knife size affect stab versus slash too?
Definitely. Taller person can usually handle a bigger knife without it getting in their way. With a smaller knife, forward grip. Stabbing is fast. Straight line, less movement to see. Elbow stays lower, protecting you more.
Stab is stealthier, maybe? Faster.
Can be. But a slash with a small knife, especially reverse grip, can be blindingly fast up close.
So trade-offs again.
Always. Sprague generally suggests slashing offers more options overall. Harder to defend because you have to see the whole arm move. A stab can quickly become a slash too. Useful if you're sidestepping.
And safer up close.
Slashing can be. Tighter moves, less commitment, better protection for your core. You can even slash defensively against a stab, stay just out of reach, cut their arm. Less precision needed than a perfect stab because it covers more area.
Versatile. Okay, last bit of physics. Motion and penetration depth. It's not just sharpness, right?
Not at all. Longer blade tip moves faster in an arc,
Yeah.
right? More speed means easier penetration in a slash. Sprague uses an analogy like thin grass going through a tree if it moves fast enough.
Speed helps cut.
But your movement is just as vital. Stance, footwork, they control distance, balance, generate momentum. You don't want your body moving one way while the knife goes another. That kills power.
Body and weapon working together.
Exactly. Transferring body weight adds speed and power. Dropping your weight into a downward slash uses gravity. It all comes down to kinetic energy, speed squared, and momentum.
And leverage from a longer blade helps tip speed.
Right. Longer blade, more leverage, faster tip for the same hand speed. And here's that really wild point she makes.
The penetration depth one.
Yeah. In soft tissue, the wound channel can actually be deeper than the blade's length because the tissue compresses on impact.
Wow. That is surprising. Really underscores the danger.
It does. So, summing up the physics. Knives are dangerous, versatile, fast, hard to stop, cause major trauma, cut going in and out, can penetrate deep.
And the key is targeting vital areas for a quick end.
Neck, wrists, femoral veins, organs.
Yeah.
Yes. And none of it works without the foundation. Footwork and movement to gain initiative and control the fight.
Okay, wow. That was a lot to break down. Let's try to pull out the absolute must-knows for the listener. Key takeaways on stance, footwork, physics.
Okay. Stance. Think dynamic readiness, balance, protect your center, be agile. Lead hand forward, usually best for speed and reach.
Got it. Footwork.
Be proactive. Move forward to take control. Small, controlled steps. Know how to advance and retreat safely. Angling for position is king.
Angle in, angle out. And physics. Stab versus slash.
Understand the trade-offs. Stab needs precision, hits vitals. Slash covers more area, is fast, especially close. Blade design matters. Your body mechanics drive penetration.
Good summary. What's one detail from all that which was particularly maybe unexpected or memorable?
For me, it's probably that idea of penetration depth exceeding blade length.
Yeah, the compression effect.
It just really drives home how dangerous even a seemingly small blade can be. Challenges assumptions.
Definitely makes you think. And how does understanding all this stuff, stance, movement, physics, connect back to someone just wanting to learn things quickly and deeply?
Well, I think understanding these core principles in this context, knife fighting gives you a kind of lens,
Yeah.
a framework for analyzing movement, position, offense, defense.
That you could apply elsewhere.
Exactly. In other physical things, maybe even strategic thinking, it's about seeing the underlying mechanics.
So it's fundamental principles, not just knife techniques. Fascinating. All right, here's a final thought then for you, our listener, to chew on. Given how much emphasis Sprague puts on speed, precision, efficient movement, often over just brute strength, what other areas in life, maybe, could benefit from rethinking the role of raw power versus finesse and smart positioning?
Hmm, that's a good one.
Something to mull over.